Alright, let's dive into something that's got the football world buzzing right now, the idea of players being like a new signing. It's that time of year when clubs are splashing cash on fresh faces, but what's even more intriguing? The players already on the books who feel brand new. Personally, I think this concept is fascinating because it's like finding a hidden gem in your own backyard. So, let's break it down and see who's making waves in this category. First off, what makes this really interesting is how it taps into the psychology of fans and clubs alike. It's like, hey, we don't need to spend big, we've got this guy right here. But does it ever truly work? In my opinion, it's more about the hope than the reality. Still, there are some players this season who could genuinely fit the bill. Take Fabio Carvalho at Brentford, for example. Remember him? The guy's been out with an ACL injury since November, and honestly, it's easy to forget he even exists. But now he's back in training, and suddenly, he feels like a fresh addition. What many people don't realize is that these injury comebacks can be game changers, if the players still got it. Carvalho's situation is a perfect example of how a forgotten talent can become a new asset. Then there's Leoni at Liverpool. This one's a bit of a heartbreaker, right? Signed as Virgil van Dijk's long-term replacement, he got injured on his debut. Brutal. But now he's back in solo training, and if you take a step back and think about it, Liverpool's defense could really use him. This raises a deeper question: how often do clubs overlook their own squad depth in favor of flashy signings? Leoni's return could be a massive boost, and I'm curious to see how he fits into the new system. Tzimas at Brighton is another name to watch. His story is almost poetic: signed for £21 million, started showing promise, and then ACL injury. Classic. But now he's back, and with Danny Welbeck gone, Brighton could really use his goals and energy. A detail I find fascinating is how injuries can redefine a player's narrative. Tzimas isn't just returning, he's stepping into a void that needs filling. What this really suggests is that timing is everything in football. Chelsea's Levi Colwill is another player who feels like a new signing. Last season, their defense was a disaster, and Colwill's absence was a huge part of that. He's not a superstar, but his return could stabilize things. In my opinion, Chelsea's new manager has a real opportunity here. If Colwill can stay fit, he could be the difference between a mid-table finish and a top-4 push. It's all about potential, and he's got plenty of it. Matthijs de Ligt at Manchester United is an interesting case. He's been out since last season with a back injury, and with Ruben Amorim gone, the club feels like a completely different place. What makes this really interesting is how a player's value can shift based on the context around them. De Ligt's return isn't just about his fitness, it's about how he fits into a new system under a new manager. If he's back to his best, United's defense could be a lot more solid. Dejan Kulusevski at Tottenham is the wild card here. The guy's been out for 15 months, and honestly, it's like he's been erased from memory. But Roberto De Zerbi seems optimistic, and if Kulusevski can return to form, Spurs' attack could finally click. One thing that immediately stands out is how injuries can derail a player's career, but comebacks. They're the stuff of legend. If he pulls this off, it'll be a massive story. Sheikh Doucouré at Crystal Palace is another player who feels like a forgotten man. Injured for most of the last 2 years, he's barely played. But now he's back in contention, and for a club like Palace, that's huge. What many people don't realize is that midfield stability can make or break a season. If Doucouré's anywhere near his best, he could be the key to Palace's success. Nicholas Jackson at Chelsea is a tricky one. He's been the subject of jokes, but there's clearly talent there. With Xabi Alonso in charge, he's getting a fresh start. Personally, I think this is where the like a new signing concept shines, when a player gets a second chance under a new manager. If Jackson can find consistency, he could be a game changer for Chelsea's attack. Alexander Isak at Liverpool is the one I'm most intrigued by. Last season was a write-off for him, but he's got the talent to be a top-tier striker. What this really suggests is that sometimes, a change in management is all a player needs. With Arne Slot gone, Isak could thrive. If he does, Liverpool's attack becomes terrifying. This raises a deeper question: how much of a player's success is down to the manager? Finally, Marcus Rashford at Manchester United. This is the ultimate, like a new signing, story. After loans and drama, he's back at Old Trafford. In my opinion, this could be a make-or-break moment for him. Michael Carrick knows him well, and if Rashford can find his form, it's like United signed a world-class player without spending a penny. But the pressure's on, can he deliver? So, there you have it. These players aren't just returning from injury or loan, they're stepping into new roles, new systems, and new expectations. It's like they've been reborn. But here's the thing, football's a cruel game. Not all comebacks are successful, and not all hope is rewarded. Still, it's that hope that keeps us watching, keeps us believing. Who do you think will make the biggest impact? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts.